And our next speaker is Dina Benbrahim. So Dina is a Moroccan multidisciplinary creative and a feminist. Her projects are really rooted in her missions and beliefs to help and support misrepresented communities and minorities. It's like her projects are really amazing. And she's so inspiring. Like every time we get on a call with her, you know, there's so much context and so much research, and she has this academic background, so you can really tell the research is being made and made well. And every time we're like, okay, what have we done with our lives? Because it's just like absolutely amazing. So Dina, I will let you take over and I will give you the mic and you can start sharing your screen.
Thank you so much for this very sweet introduction, Caroline. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna share my screen and just say hi, everybody. And thank you again, Caroline, for having me and Izzy and everybody in your teams for all the work that you did. I'm really excited to speak alongside Crystal, Jeremy, and Sunny in here. And also thank you to all those who are here attending tonight. This is indeed a story about a feminist life, which is my own, in contact with others. One of my favorite poets is Rumi. And he says, there is a candle in your heart, ready to be kindled. There is a void in your soul, ready to be filled. You feel it, don't you? So how about we start with a little reflection? Where is your heart at today? Think about where you are in life currently. Can you identify what that burning fire in your belly is? My heart is here in the present moment with you all online on Zoom and across the Atlantic, where I'm from and where I was born in Tangier in Morocco in 1990. My ancestors are Iberian, Moroccan, Sephardic Jew, Southwest Asian, Sierra Leonean, and Nigerian. And my dreams of being a little fish in my everyday life did not work out. So I'm an endowed assistant professor of graphic design at the University of Arkansas. And you probably saw my little boy. I'm a mother. He looks exactly like me, minus his little toe. I don't know why, but he got that from his dad. Too bad. I'm also currently pregnant with another boy. And it's really important for me to take space as a mother in academia from the very beginning, because we're often invisible. And, you know, living in patriarchal societies from the day I was born until now in the United States, I really find refuge in feminism. I very much identify with Sarah Ahmed's words, who says to live a feminist life is to make everything into something questionable. And to me, leaning into the uncomfortable act of questioning everything is an act of survival and self-preservation, but it's also an act of love in so many ways, love for oneself, for others, and the planet. When people ask me who are my favorite designers, I honestly cannot think of one anymore. But I can think of many feminist writers whose brilliant literature really fed me joy, the right to exist as my true self, and also the need for justice. So if you're looking for great reads, highly recommend these. Once upon a time, I had an epiphany. I was a copywriter at J. Walter Thompson, Casablanca, and the state-owned TV channel Deuxième aired this horrible tutorial on how to cover up bruises with makeup in order to hide marks of abuse, right? So I went then to my managing director saying that we absolutely needed to do something about this. That first of all, we weren't in advertising just to make ads about banks, and also that a big media could not do this. So he was like, sir, as long as it's $0 for me, go do it. It was really hard to gather a team because they were all afraid to go against this media channel as they're super big. But I still managed to find the right folks with my team and do a reverse tutorial. And later on, We did an interactive print that we inserted in magazines that had the fake makeup remover wipe to apply directly on the print. And it revealed our message, which was essentially that in Morocco, 6 out of 10 women were victims of domestic violence in 2016. And instead of covering up abuse, we need to speak up. So let's watch this reverse tutorial. And actually, I'm going to reshare my screen because I did not share with the sound. Oop.
Salam alaikum les filles, j'espère que vous allez bien. Alors aujourd'hui on se retrouve pour une nouvelle vidéo. Je vais vous apprendre à vous démaquiller sans vous abîmer la peau.
So not only this won multiple awards, but it also sparked debate in the parliament. And at that moment, I knew I wanted to pursue social justice work.
Salam alaikum.
And more precisely, I knew in my heart that I wanted to use design in service of justice and healing. I just did not know how yet. So I went back to grad school after a bachelor in business and a master's in marketing and comm. And this time I pursued an MFA and I focused on design for social justice. And everybody thought I was nuts, but I still left everything behind to pursue what I felt was right to me. And believe me, all the moments when I did not have enough money to buy an apple and went to food banks and had minuses in my bank account, all of them were worth it. Today, all the work that I do is collaborative in community, and in many ways, I see myself as an activator of meaningful ideas and ideas that wouldn't be meaningful if I pursued them alone. So my work also aims in this context to be pluriversal, hopeful, and accessible. And practicing design, following these principles involve sometimes really complex and raw feelings and a giant commitment. So here is a story about raw feelings. This is 2019. The Moroccan journalist Hajar Raisuni, who actually was charged then with having sex outside marriage and an abortion. Both of them are crimes in Morocco. And the law also magically specifies that anyone who produces graphics to promote abortion in any way can be prosecuted. So kind of with the fear in my stomach, I designed a simple identity for what became known as the Outlaws campaign in social media and print, as well as edited the English versions that were originally written by Leila Slimani and Sonia Tarab in French and Arabic. And I really believe that the power of simple, accessible design is that it can be easily reproduced and owned by the community. And that's exactly what happened and what you're seeing on the right side of the slide. Folks started owning the visual language, translated the manifesto in their own languages, and tried to match the typefaces, They owned the logo, they created artwork, they sent us stories. It was so organic and spontaneous, and we reposted all of it, and it created just this massive pressure that actually resulted in freeing the journalist a month later. The kind of impact that my work has is not always on a societal level. It can be at an individual level, which I really value and appreciate. And in this story, I made a choice in my journey of mothering to breastfeed my son. And I don't know if you've ever done it, but breastfeeding is really, really wild. So to give you an idea, at the beginning, it's every 2 hours, and then it's every 3 hours once they're a little older. So that means that anything you do involves a breastfeeding session in a public space. It happens that we needed a car and we were in a dealership, and obviously, like any paperwork, it took forever. And so I had to breastfeed my son there. And out of nowhere, this salesperson comes out and takes a photo. You know, you hear the sound of the camera clicking and you see the flash. And I really felt violated in that space. Even more when I asked him to delete that picture and he denied even taking it. But this incident actually led me to conduct research on the topic, and I ended up publishing a photo essay in visual ethnography journal in Italy called Mamani. And in it, I actually documented my breastfeeding sessions in the public space the way I wanted to document them. And I wrote about them. And a few parents actually reached out to me and shared their individual struggles when breastfeeding. So once again, the impact here is really at an individual level. And even at my own, it served as a healing experience. In many ways, my activism can be proactive, reactive, or simply just ongoing. And in this case, I've been more and more curious about Moroccan design history just because it doesn't exist in design books, since most of them are written from a Eurocentric and male perspective. So I first published a piece on found typography around Tangier in the book Our Morocco, which is a very light essay. And since then, I've been invited to publish more research and give deeper talks on Moroccan design. And in doing so, I started working with Amazigh women who are indigenous to North Africa and studying their essentially feminist symbology. I think the frame of Eurocentric graphic design history that we've been fed and that conceived, you know, craft to be unworthy of design is a super narrow framework. And in indigenous spaces in particular, understanding craft as design reveals new ways of knowing outside master narratives. So in this context, Amazigh women have been leaders, goddesses, and agents of change in their communities since pre-Islamic times. And despite centuries of colonization and patriarchy, their legacy actually survived in popular everyday life objects like rugs. But because there is a blatant lack of interest to uncover the symbology and even less to preserve the current stories today, their heritage is really at great risk of being lost and forgotten. And clearly it's a political will, but it's also oppression by design. So with the Anu, which is an artisan-owned and managed e-commerce platform that was founded in 2013, we started collecting design stories and adding to taxonomy of symbols that I've been actually compiling, which will soon be published in a design book for the very first time. But it also contributes to building a design repository to have their stories somewhere. So just to give you an example, on this slide, you see pile knot rug, and one of the symbols on it is an X symbol, and it's called croix, which means cross. It's super common. And its pre-Islamic meaning refers to having legs spread out or representing the sexual act and symbolizing birth. And we found out that in today's stories, in Eid Hamzah actually represents a woman preserving her marriage and avoiding divorce. And to me, really, these dichotomies are super special just because they highlight the impact that political conditions had on Amazigh symbology and their meanings across time. And also, just in general, working on this project and working on revealing and publishing these stories is a humble way to bring justice to their work. and yet it's not without its own risks. So if we go back to a reflection moment and focusing a little more on your heart, what is the most impactful objective you can pursue at the moment to get closer to what your heart wants? And this also means, what are you willing to risk to fulfill what your heart wants? This is spring 2018, actually, and we're at the University of Florida. This is the first cohort of students I taught, and they really changed my life. They told me that I should keep teaching after flipping the bird an entire semester at traditional academia. And we took this photo to remember how special it was to collaborate together. With them, I actually learned that the classroom remains the most radical space of possibility in the academy, which is a quote that I love by bell hooks. And I also felt, you know, this high from finding what my heart wanted to pursue during all this time, and I just did not know it. So what about you? Do you feel that little high from doing what you really love? And you know, it doesn't mean that it's always rosy when I teach, but it does bring me a special joy to do so above anything else. So my journey as a creative shifted to incorporate pedagogy in what I do. And when combined with design and feminism, it led to this methodology called engaged pedagogy, which is also a term coined by bell hooks. So what does it look like? I actually taught a number of classes as an educator, and I always embrace horizontality, vulnerability, honesty, and care to encourage students to find agency. And like bell hooks actually taught, there is no engaged pedagogy without the deep care for the well-being of students, all while inviting them to take risks and, you know, just challenging them all the time to maximize their journey of growth. And another side of engaged pedagogy is that it just does not simply seek to empower students. It means that we as educators need to be vulnerable too, which is pretty hard. Engaged pedagogy also means teaching against the grain in many, so many ways. And in essence, I really believe that this is an activist act within the context of the classroom, and it can be super draining because we're doing things outside expected ways that things have been done in academia. And for example, I'm really against the thought that the professor is this objective person whose role is to transfer knowledge, and that the student is this passive object whose role is to absorb that knowledge. So anyways, after experimenting with a ton of projects using this teaching methodology, I decided to launch Hello Departures, which actually happened this week. Essentially, I'm using my research funds to engage in collaborative projects that facilitate learning and teaching new equitable ways forward in Arkansas, where I'm now, and beyond, with students, faculty, and community. And I'm also hoping to provide a platform of experiential resources and tools that expand the design canon and promote a diversity of thoughts and practices. So one project that helped me visualize the potential of Hello Departures was the KIND project. With identity systems, fabrication students, and the Fayetteville Public Library, we actually reimagined the cold coin-operated period product dispenser for a kinder and more inclusive dispenser for menstruating folks in our community. And with my endowment, I was able to sponsor more than a year of period products to the public library, which included sustainable menstrual cups, period underwear in inclusive sizes, as well as organic and compostable tampons, liners, and pads. And the initiative's ultimate goal is to contribute to reducing period poverty in our community by providing these on-site resources, but also online resources, which of course include the KIND period products, that are, you know, kind to menstruating people and the planet, but also the KIND dispensers and content on feelfreetobekind.org. This is another project initiated within the context of Hello Departures. So The advanced type seniors, led by Professor Ryan Sloan and myself, worked with a local artist, Olivia Trimble, to research, explore, and revive historical sound type in Fayetteville and the Northwest Arkansas region. And students actually first created an entire typeface based on their found type, and they participated in a series of creative sessions. And then they collaborated to conceptualize a positive message that is inclusive to all ways of being in the community. And finally, they designed what became now I Exist in the Future, which is a revolving collaborative mural series. And it's after Hodori Davis' question, if I'm not imagining your future, do I exist in it? So we have 2 installations in the community in really emblematic spaces, including a historic bridge. And stickers are actually being sold in one of them. And all proceeds are going to NWA Equality. Smaller things that Hello Departures does is sponsoring students to attend conferences. And I believe that reducing barriers of entry for students not only allows for higher rates of participation, but also diverse sets of voices and abilities to be heard, and it enriches their learning journey. So all a win. In January, I'll air a call for submissions to invite undergraduate and graduate students to pursue design initiatives that actually expand the design canon and build an equitable design practice. So you can stay tuned, you can inform your students at Hello Departures on Instagram or the website hellodepartures.org. So I'd like to end with Audre Lorde's words, who wrote, "To refuse to participate in the shaping of our future is to give up. Each of us must find our work and do it." And as you saw, every project I share with you today acts upon something that really matters deeply to me. And I believe that we can all contribute to building more equitable futures, provided that we find what really matters to us, or sometimes it's what makes us really mad. And every project also felt like a new iteration of self for me, where I grew and I learned to be a better human in community. And that's all I want to keep doing. So my last question for you today is, where are you going next in your iteration of self? Thank you. Feel free to reach out and connect.
Woohoo! Thank you so much, Dina. It was amazing. Yeah, I mean, I don't think, there was so many reaction in the chat while you were talking. People were amazed, saying that we need more people like you in this world, and I would agree with that. You seem like you really find your calling, and it really shows into all your projects and everything. So that's just amazing. Thank you so much, and thanks for being here tonight. Like, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, so then